Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it. Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round, the penultimate round of the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 Championship. It's bound to be a fantastic night of action here at Twin Ring Motegi. It's a track that we don't often see raced that much, or at least I haven't seen raced that much recently in a number of leagues or other championships across iRacing. So I'm very, very excited to see what these Formula 3 cars and, of course, the drivers make of it. I'm here with Ed May in the commentary box once again. Ed, this is a track that I know we've both raced on before, but I can't actually remember the last time I was here. Was yours a recent visit?
Mine was somewhat recently, if you count, not on iRacing, if you count racing a little bit of Gran Turismo 4, the track, which I'm sure you're probably well aware of as well, Chaz, from your time playing the Gran Turismo series, but it is a wonderful track. Very technical as well. I was watching these Formula 3 cars go around in practice, and there's so many corners that are very easy to get caught out on. Turn 11 being the big one, the downhill right-hander, where it's so easy to just overshoot your marker, either run wide at the exit or overshoot on entry and actually just have the rear end swap around when the traction isn't there for you due to the elevation. So it's going to be very difficult. There are other corners as well. You've got turn 1, turn 2, the double apex right-hander at the beginning of the lap. That's going to be so hard for the drivers to really master. It's a circuit that's really going to test the drivers and their ability to hold onto the car, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's easy to try and push that little bit too early out of some of the corners here to get a good run. And yeah, like you say, the traction can just break away so suddenly. Some traction that may not break away so suddenly tonight is visible here in the championship standings. Bart Daleman 75 points clear of Kevin Zemstra and Carlos Alvarez. There is about a 10-point gap back to Ivan Maynard. I say about, there is a 10-point gap back to Ivan Maynard. Carlos Hernandez is then 2 points back, and it's very close all the way through the top 10. Martin Deckens could also wrap up the Consistency Championship tonight as well with a strong performance here, so we're just hoping now that some of the guys can maybe knock him down a peg in these last meetings, especially his teammate Hans Pullmans. But we are going to see some very different looking cars tonight. I say different looking, there's going to be a slight different aesthetic, but we'll get onto that in a second. Alcantech NHR by Nyman Racing lead the Teams Championship ahead of WOSR Club, and then Flemish Sim Sports by Viraco are only 6 points behind them. And then we have World of Sim Racing Team, Team Year 1, Mamba Sim Sports, Sim Stickers Racing, XZ Racing, Orange Sim Stickers Red, and of course Alcantech NHR by SimLab at the bottom of the pile. So we look at cars out on track, and the first one we look at is the number 1 machine. It is Bart Daleman, and one thing that, well, to be fair, hasn't changed about Bart's car tonight is the number here, Ed, but other drivers like Estefania, Garcia, Maynard, Zemstra, everybody else have all got different numbers tonight, haven't they?
Yeah, they do, and you can tell the difference not only between the consistency class and the precision class drivers by the green tag on the left-hand side of our timing screens, but as well by the numbers. The consistency class drivers, triple digits, 101 example for Martin Deckens, who's leading the consistency class. Then you've got 4th in consistency class, Philip Russell. He's using the 104. Interestingly, though, Chaz, in this practice session, top of the timing sheets is Martin Deckens.
Yeah, he is indeed. He's sat in the pits there at the moment, or he's not even in the car. But yeah, he's right up there at the moment. Fastest time out of anybody. And he's only, well, Maynard and Zemstra have done basically identical lap times to the nearest 1,000th. So those guys will certainly be interesting to watch. But we don't have to worry about qualifying here. There are no qualifying sessions in these sort of the finals, as these last 2 meetings are called. There's no drop scores either. There are basically just reverse grids for each race. Based on the championship standings, we have the same race distances. The first race is going to be the full class reversed, and then we're going to have the second race with updated championship standings after race 1 if there are any movements or any changes around there. So looking forward to seeing how this all works out and what the sort of changes may be.
It is going to be a real humdinger of an end to a championship, though, isn't it, Chaz? Obviously, it's not as close as we would have liked for the top positions in either class, but still, it's when the pressure really starts to mount on those drivers up at the top to try and hold on. Obviously, we know about Daleman; he's in the driver's seat. We know how good and consistent he is, but all it takes is for one little slip up here and there, and that could start a downward spiral. And Zemstra, look at his pace; he is right there, ready to try and capitalise.
Yeah, he will be. He will be right on the money, let's say, to try and take advantage. It's great to watch these cars make their way around that sort of final chicane.
So
I love
good.
it. I love this circuit. It's amazing. A really amazing circuit. And like I say, it's a very underrated one, if you ask me. Although the shadows seem to form as they come towards you here from that camera angle that we just saw there. Taylor Lane is the 14th and final car out there. He's not done a time yet in practice, so we've not got any sort of indication. But that matters not, because we're going to get the grid for the first race of the night straight away, and I cannot wait to see how this all works out. So, Ben Hoffman, pole position, car 11. Iker Estefania is alongside him. Then it's Carlos Garcia and Ivan Maynard on row 2. Carles Alvarez and Kevin Zemstra on row 3. Bart Daleman is the last of the precision class drivers in 7th. Adam Ossioala is the head of the consistency field with Paul Godden and Carl Newen on row 2. Wayne Palmer and Taylor Lane make up row 6. And then at the back of the grid, we have Philip Russell and, of course, the man looking to try and win that championship tonight, Martin Deckens. So it's a beautiful, beautiful place here, Ed. Interesting weather. It's a little bit overcast, so it's not going to be too hot. Who's your money on from the sort of experience we've had from this season so far?
Well, Kevin Zemstra and Bart Daleman starting 6th and 7th. That's going to be a real treat down the order. I'm wondering who it's going to be coming out on top. Bart Daleman, he knows what he needs to do. He doesn't need to be aggressive, but he's going to be racy, that's for certain.
Right then, let's get this underway, shall we? The first race of the night in round 9 of the NEVO SimStickers F3 Championship is underway. And it looks like a good start by Iker Estefania. He's going to get down the inside of Ben Hoffman into turns 1 and 2. Double apex right-hander. Ben's gone straight on. Straight off the road. There's another car off as well. Carl Newen's gone off with him. You can see him spinning in the background. It's a WOSR 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a karting race. Cars 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Honestly, it's like rental karting. Absolutely like rental karting. Taylor Lane's gained 5 places off the start. Martin Deckens is already 6th in class. Unbelievable. As well, off the road goes Ivan Maynard and into the wall. Big damage for Ivan Maynard straight out of the race. That's a rage quit if I've ever seen one, Ed.
Yeah, it's maybe not just a rage quit, it's just to get out of the way as Bart Daleman. Oh my word, cold tyres. I said it was a difficult circuit, but it's so much harder when you don't have the grip on the rubber. I want to see what happened there, though, at the beginning of the race here to Ben Hoffman. Who quickly became Ben Off-Man. Look at this, just understeers all the way through. Same with Carl Newen. Really struggling to get the car stopped in time. Brakes cold, tyres cold. It is a bit of a nightmare there into turn 1, it seems. And then this is Ivan Maynard behind his teammates. You can see already there's a moment there, as I think that's Iker Estefania running a little bit wide. He's actually going around the outside of his teammate who's slow to try and avoid. Almost collides with the rear end of number 3 car. That's Carlos Alvarez. Whoa, that was a nightmare start for Ivan Maynard. Just look at how close these two cars came to each other, though.
You can see the understeer. I mean, it's... Oh, my life. It's legendary sort of slippery Japanese tarmac, isn't it? There's always a sort of stereotype to it. And Bart had to get out of it to avoid hitting the back of Kevin Zemstra. I don't think he'd have ever lived that down if he'd have hit Kevin again. They've had a bit of contact in multiple races this season. And, well, he's not going to let him live it down at all. End of lap 1 then. It's Estefania, Garcia, Alvarez and Zemstra. Taylor Lane leads a consistency class from this man, Martin Deckens. Then it's Adam Ossioala, Philip Russell, Wayne Palmer and Paul Godden. Those two having a good old scrap behind. And then they've got Bart Daleman in the background. This is Philip Russell, though, trying it on Adam Ossioala. He's got through. Now can Palmer go through as well? Whoa, Adam gets a big wobble on there.
Yeah, it was a lovely move there by Philip Russell. Just made it very clear. Very aggressive to get the inside, but, you know, not into the braking zone. He's very, very respectful there. Wayne Palmer looking around the outside to try and carry momentum. A little bit of a slide on the exit that has the ability to get fully on the loud pedal, and now into the slipstream. He could look for a chance move up the inside, but, you know, thinks better at very smart stuff. Look at that, Philip Russell really struggling, but so is Wayne Palmer. Actually, no, not Wayne Palmer. He gets through on Ossioala. And then look at this in the background. Paul Godden's going to sling one up the inside, says thank you very much there. And all while this is going on, Bart Daleman, he's just happy to sit in behind. He knows that he's not going to be losing points based on these consistency class drivers finishing ahead of him. You only score points based on your class position, not your position on the road. So he's doing fine just being 11th at the moment.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, Bart basically has to just finish to wrap the championship up, really. It's pretty much a done deal already. I think he said that in both classes, actually his lead is 75 points. He says there's 84 to be earned by both classes. You get 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the first race. And then the max you can get out of the second race is 25 points. So, yeah, as long as Bart basically finishes this race and scores... Well, actually, no, he needs to score 9 points, doesn't he, to win the title here? Because if he just scores 9 now, then there's no possibility. So he does need to finish, actually, in the top 3 in his class
but that's provided Zemstra comes through and wins the race.
Yeah, that's
not
very
necessarily a foregone conclusion with 3 World of Sim Racing cars up in front.
Actually,
so Zemstra
yeah,
does need to get a move on to try and keep his championship alive. You never know what's going to happen in the next race. It looks likely that Bart Daleman is going to wrap up the championship here tonight, but will it be in the first race or the second race?
Yeah, actually, if Zemstra finishes even in third, well, he has to finish third if Bart finishes at the bottom of the class, but Bart is currently 5th in class, which is going to earn him 6 points. Zemstra's 4th in class, which earns him 8 points. So, on that ground, Bart would win. Bart would be the champion, basically, to completely seal the deal there, no matter what the other guys do. So, Kevin's got these 3 cars in front of him now that are starting to actually break away a little bit, and he needs to try and get a move on to catch up with them. We've got Jakub Szymanski and Big Mac in the chat. Good to see you guys. Hope you're enjoying your evening. Thank you for joining us here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media for this wonderful night of F3 racing. Now, I'm not sure about you, Ed, but most of the races I've ever seen here in sim racing have always been at night, because this was one of the first tracks on iRacing where you could choose night time before we had the day-night cycle, and a lot of people really like it round here at night. I always find it really tricky.
Yeah, it is a very demanding track. I think I've raced an endurance round around here once many moons ago in the 911 RSR, and it is a very, very difficult track in any bit of kit, but especially when you've got no ABS to help you out like you have in these F3 cars. Carlos Alvarez here just making a move. I think that was on Garcia, but from what I can see, Garcia fights him right the way back.
Yeah,
into turn 3 and 4.
Garcia had a
slowing
problem.
each other down, and that's actually allowing Zemstra back into the fight here, Chaz.
Oh, how did Osceola not go into the back of Paul Godden there? I really don't know how he didn't go into the back of him, to be honest with you. Not quite sure what happened to Garcia, but he definitely had an off. Osceola has just had another off as well, I'm afraid. He's just come to a stop. Oh, he spun it again. And that's literally the same corners a lap later. So, Estefania's lead has got much bigger now, and then Garcia and Alvarez have got Kevin Zemstra for company right behind them. So it was Garcia that had a problem at the start of the previous lap. And then... Sorry. Yeah, it was. It was Garcia that had the problem, then Alvarez tried to make the move, and then they actually fought amongst themselves. And it didn't get figured out. So, hopefully, for Zemstra, that means that he can start trying to make some forward progress. But you and I both know how hard these WOSR guys are to overtake. They've had some terrific scraps this season, and I'm sure this is going to be another one of them.
Yeah, here we go then. Zemstra with a very nice exit there. A little bit squirrely on the exit by Carlos Alvarez, and that's going to give the incentive for Zemstra to make the move up the inside into turn 1. You can see already actually defensive driving being displayed from Carlos Alvarez. Slightly squeezes, but leaves a car's width on the entry into turn 1, and then through turn 2, Zemstra really nice getting that power down. It's going to be a real tough job for Carlos Alvarez to stay in front. He's going to force Zemstra to go the long way around into turn 3 and 4. Zemstra again backing out a little bit and just trying to bide his time to open up the move into the next corner. But this is great defensive driving from Carlos. He's not giving Zemstra an easy time of it. And again, Zemstra forced to go to the outside line. Late on the brakes here, though. He's going to try and swing it all the way through. Has he got it done? Not quite. They almost touch on the exit. Barely an F3's width there afforded between either driver. But this is cracking stuff. And I think for the moment, Carlos Alvarez is going to hold on until the end of the lap.
Amazing racing between the two of them. So close, but all fair. Oh, he's around, and Zemstra's gone into him as well. Zemstra's off the road. Oh, the two of them have made contact, and if anything... this is going to be painful for Kevin, because there goes Bart Daleman. If anything, that is championship-ending stuff for Kevin Zemstra. Oh, unbelievable. You could not write it. It was so close all the way through. It was just that weight transfer. Look, he's touched the curb. The curbs are absolutely nightmare fuel.
Yeah, and if we go on board with Zemstra there, we can see it's a slow spin from Carlos Alvarez, and it's so difficult to take evasive action for. Just look at this in front.
Oh. Yeah,
it's so hard when you're that close in Zemstra's position, because even if you go hard into the brakes, you risk, the car swapping ends on you through that corner. There isn't really anything you can do.
And Alvarez has had problems since, I think, with the damage on that car. He's just, it's got no rear end on it now, and he's having continuous problems with it, just trying to get back to the pits. But Kevin Zemstra now finds himself in 9th position. Bart Daleman up to 7th overall, 3rd in class right now, and that is enough. He needs 9 points, as I said before, to clinch the title no matter what anybody else does. And he's on his way to it right now. Ivan Maynard's just on the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.081. Ahead of him, you've got Ben Hoffman and Carl Newen having a fight. Ben goes down the inside. Ben, of course, was on pole for the whole race, but went straight on at the very start. Have to give a shout to Iker Estefani, though. He's done a really solid job at the front of this, and he is one of those drivers, isn't he, Ed, where he's not had the best of luck in qualifying or in a lot of the races, to be honest with you. But when you put him out front and he can sort of just drive away at the front and show his pace, he's been fantastic, hasn't he?
He has been. He's been really, really good this race so far. He's had, you know, almost a vice-like grip on first place. He's been very, very commanding up at front and extending his advantage to teammate in behind. It's going to be likely a Welder Sim Racing 1-2 up at the front. Good news for them. Sadly, they're not in the championship fight, and we have to wonder what could have been for these drivers and this team, because let's not forget, at Sebring, they were looking very strong indeed at the start of the season, but I think it was just Bart Daleman's consistency that's really going to see him secure the championship here tonight, and to be fair, after the end of this race.
Yeah, indeed, it may be just this race that he needs. I can't see anything that drastic changing at this point. There's been a number of differing parts of this championship where we've seen some big implications, as Ben Hoffman now gets past Kevin Zemstra. That front wing clearly not feeling good on that car, and into the pits comes Kevin. Absolutely gutting. He was racing in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship last night. He made it further than Ed did, but he led most of the race. And I think it was, 16 of the 20 laps around Silverstone he led. And after the pit stops, he was 2 seconds down on the leaders. And I think he finished off the lead by about 7/10 of a second in 4th place. He was 7/10 off. It was incredibly close, as always, at the end. But Zemstra led most of the race, and then after the pit stops was just done, unfortunately, despite a very entertaining and very fun battle. But your race didn't quite go to plan, did it, Ed, I'm afraid?
No, I didn't. Thanks for mentioning. Yeah, it's just very, very difficult to get those cars started at the beginning. Whoa, all the way around. That was almost tandem drifting for a moment there as Taylor Lane nearly got out of shape, but Philip Russell loops the car around. It's so tricky getting that weight transfer right, being just through the left-hander or then the right-hander as well. Just Philip, just too aggressive, I think, on the turn. You can see the extra little bit of steering angle he puts into the corner is what takes him out of it.
Yeah, it's those downshifts, you know, as soon as you're on the brakes, you stab the brakes, and if you come off them quickly in these cars and unload those front wheels, then suddenly they can over-rotate like mad, and it'd be a real, real nightmare for you. But Taylor Lane holds 2nd in the class. That means now Wayne Palmer is 3rd. Martin Deckens is, well, he's being Martin Deckens. He's absolutely disappeared off up the road as Martin. 9.6 seconds off the lead is Taylor Lane. But the gap's about 4.5 seconds now to Martin from Taylor as he makes his way around turns 1 and 2. Just looking at the points, actually, the points are the same in both classes in this championship. So you get points in the top 10 of each class in race 1, then it's the top 12 in race 2. And I think with Martin's point difference, I don't think he can wrap the title up tonight, you know. I think he's got to do a bit more than that to secure it before we get to the final race.
We'll have to try and figure it out, of course. We will have updated championship standings provided to us by the wonderful Bart Daleman in the intermission between the two races. That's Paul Godden. The big moment into the wall. Let's just see how this all happened.
No, this is a while away,
this
actually.
Is earlier. This was him getting through, actually, on. Ooh, and then it's just on the exit of that final corner. Touch of the grass on the exit. Spits him right into the hard, unforgiving concrete barrier.
And it is all over for him. Ben Hoffman's off again. Man, this is a tricky circuit, isn't it?
It's so hard. So difficult for these cars, because we've seen it easier tracks. It's difficult to keep that rear end in check. And again, it's just through turn 7 and turn 8, an area which I thought would have been fine with the downforce of those cars to keep it planted. But it's that initial turning that's really upsetting these cars here. Look at that. Oh, that was a bit of a slide, wasn't it? Just from Wayne Palmer. Through turn 11, that's the corner I thought we'd be seeing most of the incidents, because when you go on board, it's so hard when you see the cars trying to stop and turn in. You need to really aim for the later apex because of the sort of the elevation change. Normally through that corner you'd be able to keep it in tighter and nicer, but because of the way the circuit drops away from you, it's quite easy to have the rear end drop away as well.
Philip Russell's been off and has damage to the car. The front left is off. And the invisible tether is holding that wheel on. Let's see what he's done. Oh. Oh, the damage is already there. And okay, obviously it won't turn right on its way into the pits. So he's had another issue somewhere. No, before this. Where on earth?
Looks like maybe it was on the exit of turn 11 and he's just ran a bit wide, maybe hit a barrier or something.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like... Trying to find it, but... Okay, so it was after this lap, basically. Sorry. So we'll try and push on and see if we can find the moment. It's going to be on the end of this lap, so if we just bear with it before we get to the end of the race.
It'll most likely be not this corner, but the next one.
So nice and tidy out the hairpin, down the straight. I'd love to see a start from that straight. That looks like a proper old school start-finish straight, that, with a huge run down to a tight corner. I'd love to watch a race from there. Here we go. That looks hot. No? Is it going to loop round? Ah, yes. Oh, just that scrape. And then it's broken the wheel, and then it'll pop off before he gets into the pit lane. You'll just see it pop off very suddenly. There it goes. Oh, man, that's gutting for Philip Russell.
Here we go, though. White flag is being waved. Barney's out and ready. Iker Estefania there, leading by 1.3 seconds. Garcia did set the fastest lap of the race, but that's not going to be enough to take away from his teammates' performance tonight. It's been a really good drive here in this first race of the evening, Chaz, and you're going to have to wonder what he's going to be able to pull out of the bag for the second, because he's been looking very consistent here. When all other drivers have been struggling, he's looked very strong here tonight.
Yeah, Estefani has been caught up in a number of incidents this season which have sort of marred his performances, because when we do get him out there, like I've said, he can be very consistent.
Nguyen's off, Chaz. I've just seen Nguyen's had an incident there at the end.
Oh, yeah. He's just gone on the incident view. He's just disappeared and jumped to the pits as well, actually. So, not quite sure, but we'll stick with Estefania because this is going to wrap up quite an indicative performance of his. You know, we've spoken about his pace already and his consistency, but it's the fact that he's not needed any sort of push from his teammates or anything like that. You know, he's not waited for people to fall off the road. When he's got eyes forward and he doesn't have to concentrate on other cars around him and big battles or anything, he's just able to put the times in and keep enough of a gap in terms of the pace to stay out in front. So I want to see some clap emojis, whatever you've got in chat. Throw them out for Iker Estefania, who takes the win at Twin Ring Motegi. Starts the evening off in fantastic fashion ahead of Carlos Garcia. Martin Deckens wins and puts one hand on the trophy in the Consistency Championship, but into the final couple of corners to take the outright and precision title with 3 races to go. It's Bart Daleman for Mamba Sim Sport. Back-to-back titles for Bart. Very well deserved. Some will shout fix because he's the organiser, but we all know just how good Bart is in these cars. He does a personal best lap at the end, and well, there's not much you can say other than he does deserve that, doesn't he, Ed? Fantastic stuff.
If you've watched every round of this championship like you and I have, Chaz, then you'll know that it's definitely not a fix. He's been really strong all season long, very consistent. I think the performance that really impressed me was that first sprint race at Belle Isle, the way he was able to command the race, but also be very, very smart about how he approached it. He was fuel saving where everyone else wasn't, and they ran out at the end. He was very, very aware of everything he needed to do, and his pace was such that he was able to secure the victory there when everything seemed against him.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff, and yeah, it's been a champion's drive. Hopefully he can round out the next 3 races of this season with strong performances. Obviously securing the title with a podium is very good going as well. Podium in class, of course, not on the road, because in the consistency class, Martin Deckens, 3rd place overall.
Yeah, fantastic job. And Martin, again, like I said, puts one hand on the trophy in consistency. And it's a good drive as well, it must be said, for Taylor Lane and Wayne Palmer. The two of them were very close together all throughout the race. They're still close on the cool-down lap as well. And I'm sure Taylor will be happy with another big bag of championship points. Now, a lot of them are all doing these cool-down laps, obviously, for us to have a nice look at, but Bart has to jump straight off to sort the grid out for the next race. He basically crosses the line, and then the work continues for him, as is his commitment as a league organiser. But Wayne Palmer did a good job there. We've seen some solid drives from Wayne this season, and that was another absolute belter, it must be said.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice drive from Wayne, and it was a shame that some of the incidents seemed to really happen in the midst of those consistency class fights, because there were some really great battles that could have gone either way, but unfortunately drivers just making a few mistakes here and there. It's a tricky circuit. Hopefully we'll see them maybe not pushing as hard and thinking about the longer game, which will give us longer fights in the feature race of the evening. And as well, with Bart Darwin securing the championship, I know he probably won't have done it for the next race, but hopefully for the final round, Chaz, you might see a different paint job coming out. Because what I love is when drivers, they secure a championship maybe a little bit ahead of time, and then at the end they have a little bit of a bit of gold trim or something nice and glossy at the end of the season, just to, you know, show off a bit.
Yeah, that's my jam. That I love stuff like that. You know, fancy liveries, and just even if it's just a recognisable variation of the livery that you already had. You know, I'm really happy to see that. Paul Godden said apparently he had 2 white flag laps. Interesting. Maybe he crossed the line just while the leaders were right on him. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think fancy liveries at the end of a season to sort of show like an achievement or something is fantastic. I remember in the 2000s in the British Touring Car Championship, Ford did it a few times and had specific windscreen banners. When they won the championship in 2000 ahead of the last meeting, they had champions written on their windscreen banners rather than Mondeo. And Vauxhall in 2001 painted their cars completely blue for the last round rather than their factory red and white liveries, and it looked awful. So hopefully Bart makes one. If he does do that, hopefully it'll look good. Anyway, there's your result. Iker Estefania takes the win, just ahead of Carlos Garcia, 1-2 for World of Sim Racing team. Martin Deckens takes a win in consistency, 3rd overall, with Taylor Lane and Wayne Palmer behind. Bart Daleman wraps up the title in 6th place ahead of Ben Hoffman, and Kevin Zemstra is 8th. Carlos Alvarez finishes 9th, with Philip Russell rounding out the 10. Then it's Adam Ossioala and Paul Godden. Carl Newen and Ivan Maynard both 1 lap down come the end. Well, we have still plenty more racing action to come your way. We have the longer second race of the night, which will be coming up in just a few minutes' time. But for now, while Ed and I get ready for that one, we will just leave you for a few minutes. If you bear with us, everybody, we will be back very, very soon. See you in a few.
Close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away? Do you make it go away? I was so sure of our love. I never thought of any reason, a doubt about us. And now I'm right back at the start. Halfway through a bottle, baby, and nothing's enough. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy, take it easy. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. We're just waiting for the next race session to go up now on iRacing, and then we'll be right back in and continue the action with the final race of the evening in the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 series. We'll be back with you in a minute.
Every reason why we've changed, and there's a storm inside my head. It's getting me in trouble, baby, and I can't break away. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy, take it easy. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy.
can feel how I'm changing. I don't know if I'll ever go back. All the ways that you make me, build me up on the things I lack. I don't ever wanna lose you now. 'Cause I don't think I'll make it here without. 'Cause it's you and only you. 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 I don't know where the time goes, just flies when I hold you close. In my arms with your eyes closed, for the first time I've got hope. I don't ever wanna lose you now. I don't think I'll make it here without. I don't ever wanna lose you now. I don't think I'll make it here without. 'Cause it's you and only. 'Cause it's you and only you. 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 Because it's you and only you.
Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 series, back at Twin Ring Motegi for the penultimate round of the championship. We're just going to take a quick look at the championship standings before we go into anything else and prove to you that Ed and I have slightly got away from ourselves a bit. Bart does still need 1 point to win the championship, basically, Ed. So it's pretty much in the bag, and that's if Kevin wins every race from this point forward. You know, no disrespect to Kevin, but I think we all know that that's not very likely going to happen. Not him winning every race, because he very much could do, but Bart not scoring a single point between now and then is, well, I don't think there's much chance of that.
Yeah, we had slightly jumped the gun just a tad, but I think for all intents and purposes we were pretty much nailed on now that Bart Damon has got pretty much 2 hands, maybe just 1 little pinky fingers just off of that championship. But for all intents and purposes, he has got this all nailed down now. Just needs to come through, finish this race, and he will be crowned the champion of this SimStickers F3 Championship.
Yes, indeed. And in the Teams Championship as well, there's now 6 points between WOSR Club and Flemish Sim Sports by Viraco. But World of Sim Racing Team have moved quite far ahead of the rest now. So they're looking a bit safer in 4th place. Alcantech and HR by Nyman Racing are still the very, very top of the pile overall. So we just need to see now how these guys survive another race, because honestly, that looked like really treacherous conditions. It's not even that hot out here at the moment. I think the weather.
Oh no, it's hot now.
Oh my life! I've never seen it over 44 degrees.
I think the highest I've seen was 46. I've never seen anything creep into the 50s.
That is. Bart, what are you doing to these poor guys? Honestly,
Oh.
that's vile. Like, That makes me feel uncomfortable even thinking about like a 50-degree track temp. It's only 23 degrees air temperature, but I mean, look at the humidity, 85%. That's what it's like in Japan. It's extreme weather. I mean, to sort of dive into this a little bit much, my dad does aviation photography. He always has done it as a hobby. He's done it for people as a sort of business, but he loves going to Japan and doing photos of the Japanese Air Force. They've got so many cool aircraft that you don't really see over here or even in Europe anymore, especially the old F4 Phantoms that they flew until a few years ago. But he'd say that, they'd do a tour of Japan, him and a few mates. You'd get on a plane at one end in the airport and you'd be in your shorts and your t-shirt and it would be baking hot and you'd be talking like 35, nearly 40 degrees in some places. But then you'd get on the plane, land at the other end, and it would be like Arctic conditions, like -10, and it would be like you'd need a massive coat, you'd need to live in an igloo, all sorts. Like, it's a hell of a country for stuff like that, but there are very much two different climates at either end of it.
Yeah, and this humidity as well, like you said, I think it's 85% or something. That's going to make it a lot harder for the track to actually cool down, and the fact that it's not as overcast as it was in the first race. These drivers are going to have to deal with this temperature for a long time, probably until the end of the race, and that's going to do a number on the tyres. I'll be surprised if there's any rubber left on them come the end of this. It's a decently long race as well, the feature race. Obviously, we had 10 laps for the sprint. This one, 27.
Yeah, that's going to be painful. I mean, as Half Left has said in the chat, he was in the YouTube chat on the Formula 1 last night, but I must admit, I forgot to read his comment out loud, so sorry, Dave. But he said that would literally hurt if you touch the tarmac, and he's not wrong. I would not walk on that. I mean, people talk about when you walk on those sort of boarded bits of beach in Spain where they've got the wooden boards down to sort of make it more comfortable. That's even hotter than the sand, mate. Like, it's not comfy to walk on them. And it'll be like that for the cars right now. You'll see them tiptoeing their way around. They'll probably be on the grass just at the hope of cooling tyres down. We'll go on board with Paul Godden and see what the car looks like through here, because you do get a really good look at how much steering lock they're putting on in these cars. Obviously, with the front end being all exposed, you can pretty much see exactly where the wheels are pointing and whether they make any overcorrections or anything, but looks smooth at the moment. But you've got to imagine these guys are going to be so careful over the course of this race.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. You can see he's braking late and aiming for the even later apex of turn 10, and then all the way down the hill into turn 11. It's going to be a nightmare in these hot conditions. You're going to be trying to fight the rear end of the car to keep it balanced. You're going to have to fight the front to actually get it turning in time and avoiding the exit, because it's quite narrow here. You can see it's surprisingly narrow there on the exit. It's very easy to make a mistake. Very nicely done through there though by Paul Cotton. Nice trail braking, I think, braking a touch earlier but softer, which helps settle the car down. Through the chicane as well. It was difficult to get that initial turn. You could see there it was struggling a little bit of understeer in the heat. It's going to be like that for a lot of drivers, I think, just barely making it through this circuit. And in the race, 27 laps of searing heat is going to be hell on those tyres.
I've called Toby's bluff as well, Toby Ward. He did say yesterday it was Dave, and I know what his username is from Discord, and he made a joke about pink wheels. So I'm calling you bluff there, Toby. Sean Gardner in the chat as well. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well, thank you. Enjoying another night of Formula 3 racing as we line ourselves up for the final round. I tell you what, though, Ed, if this does get wrapped up ahead of the final race of the season, it really is going to be the last day of school for these boys, isn't it, as they head into Bathurst? Because what a track that's going to be for these cars.
I hope it's not 50 degrees there, because that's going to be absolutely horrendous up at the mountain. But Bathurst in an F3, Bathurst in anything, to be fair, is a real treat. It's a wonderful track. Going to be so great to see those F3s climbing the mountain, then plunging down through Skyline, through the dip, Forest Elbow as well. It's going to be really stunning. I wonder if maybe we'll see some of the drivers up for the leap at the end of the race. Definitely last day of school vibes if they do that. But oof. Yeah, I'm really excited just to see what's going to happen here at the very least with this track temperature and this length of race. Are we going to see drivers actually needing to take tyres?
Yeah, that's actually quite an interesting shout, I think we might see some of them potentially just go for it. They'll think, well, stuff it, we'll just throw what we can at it.
Because we did see, wasn't it, last time out at Red Bull Ring, drivers actually going faster on the worn tyres, which was very interesting to see. But I think they're going to wear so much that it's actually going to hit a bit of a cliff, and maybe even they're going to get the meatball flag. Because when you get down to 0% tyre tread, that's what happens. iRacing throws the meatball flag. It says you need to come in. Those tyres are not safe, even if they are. But then,
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's a good point. I'm excited to see whether it does do enough
it's going
to
to be
them.
great.
It's going to be very focusing. We're going to have a lot of spins and so on. Somebody that's not going to want spins, though, is Kevin Zemstra. Obviously, the incident in the earlier race pretty much sealed his fate, unfortunately, and from then he's had to just deal with second. But you have to say, despite all of the setbacks that Kevin's had this season, the incidents, the contact, everything that was out of his control as well, he has put in such a solid fight in this championship once again. You know, he's continued to push forward with it while also doing other championships as well. You know, these guys compete in a lot of different series. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what Kevin will do now that there's not as much pressure, considering that he can't physically go for the title anymore. He's just going to show us what he's got, I think, as a bit of a consolation for the season. Paul Godden's actually saying the car actually feels not that bad for 50 degrees Celsius, so fair play. It might not be as bad as even the first race was, because there's a bit of a midpoint with Japanese tarmac, isn't there, Ed, where when it gets cool it's incredibly slippy. When it gets too hot, it's more understeery than oversteery. It's weird. It affects the car in a slightly different way, and that's what Paul's saying now with understeer rather than oversteer.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be a bit more understeer for the cars, but when we saw Paul Godden, he was really coming to grips with it. I don't know if that's going to be the same for all the other drivers, though. I mean, Martin Deckens is absolutely wringing the neck out of the car yet again up at the top of the timing sheets once more. This is a very good drive from the driver that I don't think can seal his championship tonight, but will definitely put himself in a good position into the final round if he carries on with this turn of pace.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he's definitely not going to be consistency next season. I can tell you that. I'm pretty certain that he will end up in the precision class for the next season of this championship. He's going to obviously move up because he's shown that he's got overall race winning pace as Martin Deckens. You know, he's
Can we
not...
actually talk about what the plan is for next season, or are we going to keep it hush hush until the final round, Chaz? Because there are some very exciting things in the works here at NEVO and in the SimStickers F3 Series realm.
Well, if I knew, I'd be able to say something. No, I'm sure I've been told somewhere, but honestly, with the amount of messages and emails I get, I've probably forgotten. For some reason, okay, we have championship order for the final grid. So Bart Daleman, Kevin Zemstra, Carlos Alvarez and Carlos Garcia, the top four. But then for some reason, it's Iker Estefania and then Ivan Maynard. Then we have Ben Hoffman in 7th. Martin Deckens next up, ahead of Taylor Lane and Philip Russell. Wayne Palmer and Paul Godden make up row 6. And the back row of the grid is Khan Newen and Adam Oshiawala. So I'm not sure that grid's right, to be honest. But I think it was supposed to be... It'll do. I think it was supposed to be reverse grid. Let me check Bart's message again.
No, I think it was championship order, but then I think it's...
yeah. Race numbers are based on the starting position. Oh, no. That was the race numbers.
I think there's the second race is based on championship order, but here we go. Anyway, Chaz, the lights are coming out, and this is going to be it. A championship deciding front row. Bart Daleman and Kevin Zemstra.
It is indeed, and we are away at Twin Ring Motegi once again. I love that shot of a grid coming towards us. They all spread out. Try to make their way as tidily as they can around turns 1 and 2. You could see a little bit of a twitch by Estefania there. No cars really that sideways, I'll say that though. He kicks the back end out. Taylor Lane tries to squeeze through the middle there. He had a bit of a scare, didn't he? As he tried to go past Ben Hoffman and attack Philip Russell. We'll go on board with Taylor so you can see it from in the thick of the pack. You get an idea if anybody loops it or has a moment. Bart Daleman still leads it from Zemstra. Garcia's got past Alvarez to go up into 3rd position. Maynard has moved up as well ahead of Estefania. But a nice tidy start this time, Ed. It seems like that initial first lap in the first race has woken everybody up enough to show them that the grip is there. You just got to be patient with it.
Yeah, Estefania is really going at it yet again. Those World of Sim Racing cars are properly fighting each other. Side by side they go. But Iker Estefania has to try and hold on. Again, though, look at the run from Ivan Maynard. He's really on it and under a lot of pressure from Martin Deckens. Track temperature, oh, it's calmed down now. For some reason, it was blisteringly hot at the start, but it's now 37. Much more reasonable. Those tyres will definitely last until the end there. So panic over, everybody. Back to racing. Focus on the cars. Focus on the track and focus on giving us a great fight for this final race of the evening.
I've never thought that I would try and describe 37 degrees Celsius as ice cool, but in comparison, that would be ice cool in the way that it feels. Now, interestingly, Ben Hoffman is behind Philip Russell on the road, or he was for a moment, and they are obviously in two different classes. Hoffman has dropped down a little bit as Taylor Lane gets very close to the back of him into the final couple of corners, and that Wayne Palmer there going straight on. He's surely going to get a slowdown for that, but Bart Daleman, oh, I love how that focus changed on the camera there. Bart Daleman leads this race, and you could see, though, that the understeer had to be dialed out there with a bit of on-the-brake action, a bit of trail brake in mid-corner. You could see him really slow the car down to get the front end in, couldn't you?
Yeah, and we're going to see it. I think if we go on board with Zemstra, just how difficult it is to follow a car this closely with the loss of aerodynamic performance and this track temperature and tyres still not quite up to full temperature. Looking up the inside just for a moment.
Oh, he's gone for it.
Going to go for it. He sent it. Wow, that's a huge move. It's a move that had to be done by Zemstra. It was a do-or-die move for his championship. He was able to get it done and stopped in time. Didn't run wide, so you could see that it was nicely measured by Kevin. It wasn't, a dive bomb or anything like that. He got it stopped perfectly on the apex. Here's a replay of it. Look at this, slinging it down on the inside. I think that was very cooperative stuff from Bart Daleman. But nevertheless, that was a great move by Kevin.
Yeah, lovely stuff. That's exactly what he needed to do, is get moves like that done early on, especially while the field is bunched up as well, because if he slows Bart down just the tiniest bit while doing it and forces Bart to then stay behind him, then there's more chance of other cars in the pack being able to sort of have a stab at him as well and, put that pressure on. Speaking of putting the pressure on, Carlos Alvarez, who we're looking here at, is the number 3 machine, stuck behind his teammate Ivan Maynard, but just behind them is consistency class leader Martin Deckens, and he's doing an amazing job at himself once again. He will go up into precision class if he wins the championship for next season, but seeing as Hans Polmans is not here tonight, it's pretty certain that he's going to win it. Now look at these pair once again. Bart Daleman right behind Kevin Zemstra now. He's sort of returning the favour in the early stages of this lap, but they've definitely cleared off from Garcia. He has not had a good final sector as Carl Newen has come to strife again.
Is that the tricky turn 11? Yes, it is. Very, very smart to lock the brakes and keep the trajectory of the car very predictable for anyone chasing in behind. This is Osiawala, then just, no, he carries on through, so not sure what was going on here. Oh, no. A little while later, though, into turn 1, and the rear end brakes traction sends him into the gravel trap.
I'll get the right car, sorry. Bart Daleman now, second place. Still right behind Kevin, and all Bart needs to do now is basically put pressure on Kevin for all of this race. Try and maybe outdo him in the pit stops. There's quite a few slipstreaming opportunities on this circuit. We're about to get to one of them as well down the main back straight. There's quite a lot of slipstream to be had here as well on the way to the hairpin. It sort of levels the cars out, just gives the person behind enough time to build up a bit more speed as well. Bart late on the brakes, straight on he goes. Well, that's certainly shaken things up, hasn't it?
There was almost flashbacks to Hockenheim there, just as he was braking very hard, and the rear end you could see snapping on him. You can see, I think, as well, he was having a few flashbacks because he immediately sent the car over to the left-hand side. Here we go. The rear end breaks away so hard on the brakes, it gets rear locking, actually, for Bart, which is very strange. Usually you tend to lock the fronts here. And then, coming to Carlos Garcia, he's going to get a good view. And, whoa,
I was just...
Snap.
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking it because I've seen it so many times, and I've noticed it more and more recently, where if a car goes off in front, and even if they're miles out of the way and miles off the road, nothing to do with you anymore, I've seen so many people make a mistake off the back of somebody else's mistake in a completely unforced way, where they haven't even had to avoid the other car. And I was just checking to see whether Carlos Garcia had lost any time or maybe just been affected by that slightly, because that could have thrown an extra spanner in the works, but clearly not. Look at them. They're like some sort of aviation aerobatics team right now, or WOSR. You've got the 2 WOSR team cars and then 2 WOSR club cars with their numbers 5, 6, 4, and 3. It's honestly like an aerobatics team. I love that. Same livery, just different numbers, and they're all only one increment of one another.
I have to say I am a really, really big fan of these World of Sim Racing Club cars and team as well. I would like a little bit of sort of differentiation between club and team, though. I think it'd make it easier for us commentators to figure out who is who, but they are very, very nice looking cars, aren't they? We highlighted it at the start of the season. We can highlight it now. They are very, very nice looking indeed. Look like proper bonafide racing cars you'd see on the circuit, isn't it? You can obviously get the car in behind the Flemish Sim Sports, which is a car that you realistically would only properly see, I suppose, in the sim, but it does look beautiful nevertheless.
Yeah.
Those cars, those World of Sim Racing cars, beautiful.
I think one of the main things that we spoke about is that they've got that gorgeous sort of military grey on the side pods, and I think if they did that in silver instead, I don't quite think it'd look as good. Or even if they used like that sandy sort of yellow colour and turned it gold, I don't think it'd look as good. I love the fact that they're like pastel sort of metallic colours that are used in gloss. I think it looks really good like that. Now, of course, the Flemish Sim Sports car is a beautiful thing, except for the fact that the paint always seems to fall off them whenever they go over a curb. But Martin Deckens, I mean, he's been an absolute star so far this season. And a previous star of this championship, Mark Fletcher, has joined us in the Facebook chat. Good to see you, mate. We are, of course, streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook tonight. And I do have access to all three chats at once, thanks to the wonders that is Restream, or the wonder that is Restream. Shows you all the chat compiled into one. That's if the bitrate and the frame rate doesn't kill me anyway. But still, great to see you, mate. Hope you're well, and hope you enjoy some F3 action, and I hope that you cry because you're missing out.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dab hand, isn't he, in the Porsche? I would love to see what he could do behind the wheel of a Formula 3 car. Maybe we'll see him for a future championship here on NEVO, because the more drivers we get involved, the better. That's right, Chaz, isn't it? Because we had a great turnout at the start. Sadly, the numbers have dwindled as the championship's gone on, but from what I've seen of the next championship coming up is that the numbers are looking very strong already.
Yeah, I really look forward to it and see what we can do moving forward with it. And like you say, there are plenty of things coming up on NEVO. The F4 British Championship, which will be starting in a couple of weeks' time, actually, that Ed and I will be commentating on. Again.
Well, am I involved in that one, am I? I didn't know if we had the numbers for it or not.
Oh, well, I think so.
Oh.
I don't know.
I hope so.
Well, I hope so now I've said that. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back and working together once again on that, because, I mean, I haven't even bought the F4 car for iRacing yet. I know that's an absolute sin. I know.
Oh.
I've heard it's incredibly good for racing, but it's just not my sort of car. I don't race cars like this. I'm so bad in open wheelers. I really am. I love me a touring car. I love me a GT car. Mark Fletcher's now migrated over to the Twitch chat instead. We've had a new follower on Twitch as well, TRX27. Thank you very much. I've just had the email come through from that one, so cheers. But yeah, I've not bought or even, well, I've not driven or even bought the F4 car yet, Ed. So judge me all you want.
It's a really, really good bit of kit, and because as we see Ben Hoffman off again. He's not been really enjoying this track, has he? He's been one of the drivers that has struggled the most, I think, here at Motegi tonight. But it's just so tricky, isn't it? The first one was just a honest, very easy mistake that I think we've all done on cold tyres. But here it's just, you can see again sliding there, trying to kick off the dust and dirt as he made his excursion off the track earlier in the lap. We're back to what we were talking about, the F4. It's so good for racing. You can get close racing in the F3s, but my word, in the F4s, I don't know how you can go any closer than you can in F3, but you can. It is a real trick, because they are slightly slower than the Formula 3s. I find that gives better racing. I'm sure you agree, Chaz, that it seems that the slower the cars, the better the racing. I'm sure you can definitely attest to that with your experience with Clios as well.
Oh, honestly, yeah. I like the slower the car, the better the racing, hands down. You know, it is just amazing, because the nature of being able to react in a longer period of time, and have cars that, because they aren't going so fast, they aren't as heavily affected by contact, even if there is a tiny bit. Even in online racing as well, you just get more chances. That's the best thing about it. I mean, I will always try and show people the second race at Hockenheim in Clio Cup Europe 2021 because there's so much contact in that race, so much argy-bargy, cars battering each other.
Wing mirrors barely hanging on.
Yeah, wing mirrors all over the place, and there was only, I think, one car in the lead, like 15, that went off the whole race, and it was just amazing. But because the cars are a bit slower, they have a lot of slipstream, they really, really do provide amazingly close racing, and I can totally believe that the Formula 4s are like that. You know, these F3 cars are so extreme, they're so fast. I mean, modern day F3 cars are unbelievably fast, and they get quicker and quicker and quicker. I was speaking to Gregor Sorsi, who is the reigning Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine champion, Frecker as it's known. He's moved up into FIA Formula 3 this year, supporting Formula 1 and Formula 2, of course. And I was speaking to him at Imola a few weeks ago about the Formula 3 car, saying, you know, how much different is it to these Frecker cars? Because the Frecker cars are notoriously heavy, they slipstream well, but it's not enough to get past people, it just sort of keeps you together. And he was saying that the Formula 3s are like multiple seconds a lap quicker, which you wouldn't expect, but he said the F3 cars are just, it's a whole new level of grip, he said, and it's believable. I mean, we see how quick they are in the sim, but even the more modernised versions compared to these cars are just rapid, because this is a 2017 car, let's not forget. This is a 5-year-old Formula 3 car now, so it's pretty ancient by Formula car standards.
Yeah, it is, but I say they're pretty darn quick, because Philip Russell and Bart Daleman come into the pits. Very intriguing there. Bart Daleman comes back out in behind the 104. As Carlos Garcia,
That's from second.
That's from second as well, so he was right in behind. I was actually going to mention that Kevin Zemstra was under a decent amount of pressure as well. It was, you know, only a few tenths as they came across the line, but all of a sudden that's going to give him a bit more breathing space, shall we say, as Carlos Garcia just makes that little mistake into turn 1 and 2.
And Jakub Szymanski saying in the YouTube chat that you need to hear about the Formula V. And again, it's another car I've not even bought.
So good.
I've not even bought it. But I know that the racing in them is, again, insane. CRX27, by the way, saying, how is it going in the race? It's going well, I'd say. Zemstra's doing a good job out in front. It's exactly what he needs to do right now, but as long as Bart Daleman scores a point, then he is going to definitely be confirmed as champion. Mark Fletcher saying, I'm too much of a liability with that many open wheels. Thank you, mate. But he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I love my GT cars and my touring cars, if I'm honest with you. I just think they're the best disciplines. GT cars are so exciting because they're exotic supercars that are even more exotic and mental. And touring cars are so relatable to road cars that you see, but they just knock 7 shades of rubbish out of each other. You know, I love it. I love touring car racing for that, because of the contact, because of the slipstreaming as well. Yeah, nothing beats it. My aim is to commentate on touring cars across my career, because it's just the best form of racing.
Touring cars are really, really good. I'm a big fan of the GT4s as well, as I'm sure you're aware, Chaz. Not
Yes.
not quite as quick as a GT3 car, but I think that slower speed does give better racing, like we've been saying. And you know, one of them is a kit. You can really relate to them as well, because they do just look like sports cars, but tuned up to high heaven. It is really, really nice. But back to what we've been seeing so far in the race. If you have just joined us, Bart Daleman isn't usually down in 11th place. He was a little bit higher up, actually racing with Zemstra for the lead, but one little mistake into turn 10 on the brakes was what saw him have to take evasive action onto the gravel and dropped him way, way back down the order, giving Kevin Zemstra a comfortable gap up in front in the lead as Paul Godden loops it around through turns 3 and 4. Carl Ewan, I think, does a similar spin just a little earlier in the corner.
Yeah, both of them having a moment around the same time, unfortunately. Jakub Szymanski, giving his opinions on touring car racing. Daniele Giudici, good to see you, mate. Says that touring cars are the best. Matthew Crisp clearly lurking in the chat. That's definitely tickled him as well. I'm not going to repeat what he said, because I think, yeah, I'm not going to even give my opinion on it. Cars into the pits then. Martin Deckens from the lead of the consistency class. He's behind the garages there somewhere. There he is. He comes in and leaves the WOSR guys to fight amongst themselves, and that's exactly what Kevin Zemstra wants right now, isn't it, Ed? Because if they can just scrap amongst themselves as they are doing, then, well, it's no pressure on him, is it?
Yeah, and actually on that last lap, he extended his advantage by about 3/10 between himself and Iker Estefania. So the gap between first and second is ever increasing. But look at this, almost formation flying, isn't it, for all the World of Sim Racing drivers? Estefania ahead of Maynard, ahead of Alvarez, ahead of Garcia. Just actually lurking in the background is Garcia after that little mistake earlier on, around about a few laps ago into turn 1. So I'm dropped back from second place down into 5th. But there's still lots of time to go in the race. Not even half distance yet, Chaz, and these front 5 haven't pitted yet. Could mean that we'll see a difference in strategy. Maybe some drivers short fueling this first stop and then taking a full tank on at the end. Others trying the exact opposite, full tank at the first stop, short fuel at the end. Going to be intriguing to see what's going on. Bart Daleman stopped earlier, so took a little bit less fuel on board because he already had enough in the tank when he came into the pits, which might see him jump up a few places as this round of pit stops comes through the first round. Then, of course, in the second, he will drop back just a little bit more, going to bit earlier and take more fuel on board.
Yeah, that's it. And we've not seen anybody use, well, or take tyres yet, so clearly it's not that much of a problem. But sometimes we do see 2 stops in these races.
Yeah, but usually, I think
races,
these stops are usually, these races are usually 2 stops. So I think the first one for Bart Daleman was basically his short stop done out of the way, and it was almost on cue, as if I could have predicted they'd be coming in on lap 10. All drivers make their way into the pits that haven't already done so this race.
Yeah, it's going to be a big pit party now as they all come back out. Kevin Zemstra leads it, then there's the flying formation quite literally with the WOSR team. That was
a nice stop from Kevin.
Yeah,
really
indeed.
Nice.
Very, very quick. 5.07 seconds, although actually slower than a number of others according to what I've seen, but in terms of overall pit lane time, that's not bad at all. And Jakub Szymanski says, I would implore everyone to give the Formula Renault 3.5 a shot. Now, I agree that car sounds insane, looks insane. That is, in terms of a combination of a look and a sound, I think that's one of the best Formula cars ever made. If you just search for it on YouTube and go and listen to it, there's a video done by one of the many guys, I think it's Bozzy92 or one of them lot that always hangs around at Monza, filming those cars in the wet. And some of the noises that come out of them are, well, it should not be legal to upload that onto YouTube. It's just unbelievable. And it's such a great car to have on iRacing. It's a pig. I actually raced it in the Apex Racing Formula 3.5 Championship once, where there was 4 cars on the grid, and I led for half a lap from pole and then spun it at the Lesmos. Anyway, Philip Russell right now, he's having a right old go at Ben Hoffman, and these two are in completely different classes, so he doesn't need to do this, but he's just thinking, oh, you know what, sod it, it's the end of term, let's just have a laugh. We've got one more race meeting after this, and they're sort of affecting each other's championships, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, but I don't think Ben Hoffman will mind too much. He loves a good battle, doesn't he? And this is great to see Philip Russell properly going for it. He was looking for a gap that was unfortunately not quite there for him. He did have to get out. I thought, very hastily there, though, wasn't he? Very, very close to completely losing control. And actually, Taylor Lane is now the driver that might need to start defending in this sort of trio of cars all battling through here at Motegi so far this race. Taylor jumped in very late, though, into the session at the start of the evening, wasn't he? I don't think he's been able to put in as much practice as he'd like, but he's quickly come to grips with this track. Not really made too many mistakes so far this race, and I hope that's not the commentator's curse as he runs a little bit wide through turn 1, hooks up nicely, though, through turn 2. This is the gap, as we can see, illustrated on track. Thank you very much, Chaz, actually, between class leader and second place. Martin Deckens in the 101, already coming down now in towards turn 5 as Taylor Lane is just exiting turn 4.
Yeah, that's the difference, and that's the top 3 in that class. Of course, we've included Ben Hoffman in there as well. He's just a blue dot hidden underneath Taylor Lane, but it just shows you how much of a physical gap Martin Deckens has to these guys behind, and especially with these guys fighting as well. That's just going to make that even better for Mr. Deckens. Now, I want to try something on this, actually, because there's a cool feature that you can do with this track map, and I've not tried it before, but I'm going to do this. So if you bear with me and I try this.
This could end well.
I think it's like a frame rate thing, so you can choose how many frames per second, so you can sort of slow it down like that, so it jitters a bit more, so it looks like it's sort of live tracking data, or you can make it 60 FPS and make it smooth like that. And that, to me, that's just a really nerdy, cool thing to be able to play with. Because if I change it to like 5 FPS, it looks like a sort of, yeah, that's the sort of like dodgy, jittery track motion that you'd have on something like TSL. Yeah, the nerd in me finds that seriously cool. Thank you, SDK. We love you. Anyway.
We do. But it's actually, we do sometimes like to complain and moan when things don't go quite right, like with qualifying for some reason wanting to show purple sectors and then doesn't show purple sectors and then does the wrong thing, does the right thing, but
that's not the
we
right
give it
thing.
grief, but we love it. We do it because we love it.
Oh yeah. Well, we're nerds. We pay attention to the details. You know, we're perfectionists. We want everything on these overlays to work as beautifully as it can, and 90% of the time it's a mistake I've made. It's not anything to do with SDK getting it wrong. It's me. It's just I don't know how to use it all properly. Sometimes when you set the sort of colours of things and what colours certain bits will be in certain circumstances, if you have one rule at the top line of some CSS and then like 500 lines down you've got a different one, they can conflict and do one or the other. You know, it's usually the one that you've written first, but yeah, it's no, actually it's usually the one that's written last. Anyway, the race is developing further as we now get just about to the halfway point. At the end of this lap, we'll be pretty much at the halfway point. Bart Daleman is 1.8 seconds behind Carlos Garcia, and he is on his way to definitely wrap up the championship. His car number reflects his position in the championship and how many points he needs now to win the championship, definitely. So we'll have to just keep our eye on any future progress from Bart, because that gap, like I say, 1.7 seconds now to the car ahead, and he did the fastest lap of the race last time round, a 1:43.34. That is only 1/10 faster than Ivan Maynard's best lap and Carlos Garcia's. So there are drivers that have matched him on a lap at least during this race, but Kevin Zemstra's best times are 43.7, so 4/10 off.
Yeah, not quite there, and actually being closed down on by Ivan Maynard and behind, who's got that gap down now to 7/6 of a second. So what we thought might have been most comfortable race for Kevin Zemstra, when he came out of the pits 2 seconds clear of the chasing pack, as all of a sudden started to go slightly awry as that pack has closed back down, and it is a very close chasing pack as well. You can see these two Wonder Sim Racing team cars battling away side by side, close to contact, just enough space afforded. That's great battling between teammates though. That's the stuff we love to see.
Oh yeah, that made me jump though. That made me jump a lot. I thought he was going to just whack into the side of his teammate there. Luckily they get away with it. Just about, but still, they continue on. And right now Martin Deckens is going to be loving this, because he's fighting in amongst all of the precision guys, and he gets to witness this battle. He's got WOSR cars all around him. Estefania and Alvarez in front, and Garcia behind, but he won't mind. We've seen how level-headed Martin can be and how sort of focused and determined he can be in these races. He's an absolute star in this championship, and it's great to see that he's mixing it with these guys in this class as well. Let's not forget that, you know, just because they are in the different classes doesn't mean they're definitely quicker than one another. It's just based on previous pace and results and so on. As, oh, well, there's the mistake. Estefania lets his teammate through, runs wide out of the right-hander, and then look at that. Deckens says, yeah, go on, mate. If you want to send it, you send it. Carlos Garcia goes through, and, I mean, that was a justified reaction, Ed, definitely.
Yeah, that was very scary. You go for a move through that final chicane, but it was probably, looking back, it was more Martin Deckens getting out of the way than Carlos Garcia actually properly going for it. But a thing to think about is Carlos Garcia, his pace now is pretty damn strong. And let's not forget, he was right up there towards the front at the beginning of this race, battling with Kevin Zemstra for numerous laps before, obviously, that mistake into turn one. He's going to have a shot to try and climb back up through the field. Are his teammates up the road going to get out of his way and let him, though? Is Iker Estefania and Carlos Alvarez going to play ball? I mean, they haven't played ball with each other, so I don't know why it's reasonable to think that they play ball with him.
No, definitely not. It doesn't seem like there's any team orders, does it? I was just showing the graphic on the right there, which is the difference on track between Kevin Zemstra and this man, Bart Daleman. Now, there's only 5.1 seconds between the two of them. And that's after Bart's mistake earlier as well. So that just shows you how fast Bart has been in going through this field. Garcia's just on a purple sector 1 on this lap, so some of these guys where they're using a bit of that slipstream in front of them, they're actually putting in red hot sectors here. So Kevin's not really out of the woods at this point, I must say. These guys could definitely close in. I mean, if we go to Maynard now, he's within 3 tenths, Ed.
Yeah, but that's a great little factoid there, Chaz, that there's, you know, in class, there's about 5 cars.
I'm sorry.
And 5 seconds between Bart Down and Kevin Zemstra. There's Chaz nearly, he makes a mess of his seat there.
Yeah, I did. Definitely did. I thought he was just going to plough him. I thought he was absolutely going to, I thought we were going to see some full-on farming simulator going on. But no, Maynard just about makes the corner. And they've actually got 2 seconds over Alvarez. Bart Daleman does a 43.2. Garcia goes ahead of his teammate in the background, as actually his teammate fights back now. Estefania and Garcia side by side. Deccan's waiting.
I'm not going to go for it. No, he isn't.
No, I was going to say Deccan's is waiting for his chance. Now Bart Daleman's waiting for his. And I imagine, based on what we saw before, Martin Deccan's is going to roll over here, and he's going to let Bart go, I think, if he gets given the chance. And there it is. And fair play.
Yes, and now there's about 4 cars occupying spaces in between Zemstra and Daleman, and around about 4 seconds between the pair of them as well, which just shows how close this fight is up in front. That all of these cars essentially if you extend the gaps out widely, then it's basically a second. I wonder though what's going to happen when Zemstra gets caught by Maynard and those two start battling. Are we going to suddenly see a 5-6 car fight for the win?
That would be amazing, and I really do hope we do get that, because there have been, admittedly, a few rounds of this championship in the past where we've had a bit of a runaway winner. You know, a bit of no news is good news from some drivers as they check out at the front. But at the same time, we have had some fantastic scraps in the latter stages with a big group of cars as Hoffman goes deep. Taylor Lane gets the run. 2 different classes for these cars, let's not forget that. Taylor all over the back of the German. Normally it's the Jerry on your 6, isn't it? As they all used to say. Taylor tries to go later on the brakes, tries to go around the outside. Car has a bit of a wobble. Ben has a wobble as well in a lockup. Taylor carries enough speed to go around the outside. That becomes the inside. Ben's going to hate being part of this. Bart Daleman's gone into the pits, by the way, Ed, so he's getting his pit stop out of the way early. That could be very important, actually, because he's not going to get stuck in that WOSR fight.
No, he's not, but he's also not going to have the slipstream, and he's going to be taking a full tank of fuel on board. His pit stop will be longer than those around him come the end of the race, so he's going to lose a little bit of time in there and needs to make it out on track. But that was a great move, wasn't it, by Taylor Lane all the way around the outside through turn 11. Very committed. There was a little bit of a twitch from Ben Hoffman that helped Taylor get the run, but nevertheless, that was a real send of a move. And now, all of a sudden, Ben Hoffman, he thought he was done with Philip Russell in mind, but Philip's staying with him. Shame Philip hasn't, been able to stick with the best number, the 107. He's had to obviously change to the 104. So now I need to be supporting Carl Newen, who, bless his heart, isn't quite living up to my number. Come on, Carl. You can do it. You can get Paul Godden come the end of the race.
Well, we all know how difficult these cars are to drive, and Carl Newen's one of those drivers, and I have to add to this that even in Formula 1 as well, which the series I've been running, he's been taking part in. He's one of those drivers that always turns up. He could have a nightmare of the meeting, but there is not a single complaint from him. He's just out there doing laps, enjoying the racing, and getting on with the job. And he's a fantastic person to have in your leagues. He's just a really nice guy. He's quick on his day, and he just gets on with it. And he's a fantastic addition to the championship. Gets involved in the banter as well. Love it. It's good to have him, and it's good to see that he's still out there and giving it everything in this Formula 3 championship as well. So we've got Carlos Garcia in the pits now, Ed, but 2 tenths between Kevin Zemstra and Ivan Maynard just behind him. Is Ivan going to spoil the party for Kevin here?
I wonder. I really do wonder. He's going to be close enough, and he's going to probably start sending moves sooner rather than later, because that pit window is going to start to open up for these drivers. They will be making their stops in probably a few laps time, so he wants to get into the pits ahead of the rest. As Carlos Alvarez, whoa, that was a huge snap of oversteer on the exit. Could have gone anywhere, so good awareness from those cars in behind not to collide with him, but that's going to help out Bart Daleman, because when obviously Alvarez makes that pit stop, he's going to be, well, way behind that big pack of cars all battling up in front. This is Ivan Maynard, though, really trying to put pressure on him. You can see now that it's like it's a little bit more overcast. That's going to help the track temperatures and help those tyres to go to the end.
Yeah, definitely. We've just got to keep our eye on these guys and see whether this battle changes, because we have seen battles suddenly explode so quickly in this championship before. You always have to have an eye on everything in this series.
It's racy here.
Yeah, he is. It's hard to see in, well, it's hard to keep an eye on it all in as a commentator in championships like this, but that's why we love it. It keeps us on our toes. But Zemstra's doing a great job absorbing this pressure at the moment. He doesn't really look like a driver that is defending too hard and is feeling massive amounts. As into the pits comes Maynard. He thinks, right, enough of that noise. Let's crack on and get a pit stop done. Zemstra is going to carry on at the front and try to disappear off up the road, as my SDK has locked me out for a second. I suddenly cannot click anything, so apologies. It won't let me change anything.
I mean, it's going to have to be hot laps now for Kevin Zemstra until he comes into the pits. Let's have a look at the time Ivan Maynard was stationary for. It says for me that was about 4.3 seconds stopped for. So what we're going to see Kevin Zemstra do, going to go a little bit longer, try and run the fuel down as low as he can do. But crucially as well, with this fight, Ivan Maynard comes out ahead of Bart Dowman by the tune of around about 4 seconds there, Chaz.
Yeah, sorry about this, but it has literally locked me out completely. Like, I cannot do anything. It's making all sorts of Windows noises at me, and it is no longer responding. So, bear with me while I while I restart that, because it is, yeah, it's properly died. Like the whole I've never had this. I've had like a thing where it won't let me click stuff before, where they're oh, there you go. Where sometimes the connection to the SDK servers has gone down and I've not been able to click stuff, but the whole program just died on me there, and we've gone back to the initial graphics. Let's see if we can, yeah, suddenly we're back alive. So sorry about that, everybody, but as you all know, technology is a pain in the backside. So is Kevin going to pit this time round? I think he is. I think he's not. For God's sake. Typical. Right, so unfortunately now I've lost my pit counters, so if I click pit stops, yeah, look, nobody stopped apparently. Brilliant. I
can tell you though that it is every driver in the top 4 has yet to pit. Scratch that, everyone in the top 2 has pitted now, as Estefaria and Taylor Lane make their stops. Ivan Maynard has done his second stop, and that is a nailed on 3rd place for him, but that gap has really opened up between Zemstra and Alvarez. Now you can see, what is it, about 20 seconds actually between Zemstra and Maynard, apparently.
Yeah, it seems like quite the gap, doesn't it?
Then of course, Maynard has pitted. Kevin Zemstra has not, and Kevin needs to really watch out for Ivan Maynard. What sectors is he doing? He's done a purple sector 4 as Ivan Maynard, so he's really pushing, trying to get that gap down as low as he can do. Is Zemstra coming into the pits this time by? No, he is not. He's carrying on. Will be coming in on this lap, though. Won't be able to have the fuel in the tank to carry on much longer.
No, surely not. It's got to happen this time around, like you say, Ed. And to be fair, I mean, a gap back of 20 seconds, that's not a lot, because the pit lane time for a lot of these guys has been over 30 seconds. So I'm not quite sure how that's all going to work out, to be honest with you. But it seems like Maynard has, well, he's pulled a blinder.
I don't know if he's got the jump, but it could be close, because obviously it's 30 seconds. It's not like he loses the whole of that 30 seconds, because he's still moving, albeit at a reduced rate of speed.
Oh, yeah, I'm an idiot, aren't I? I'm sorry. You know what? I've made that. I can't believe, right? Not to blow my own horn, but like I commentate on 2 FIA European Championships in real life, and I don't have the ability to figure out that because someone's in the pit lane for 30 seconds, but they're still moving, they don't lose all of that 30 seconds to the other car.
There he goes, Zemstra's on pit exit. Maynard's coming down into turn 1. Who's it going to be? Maynard gets the jump on Kevin Zemstra, and that is the first time in this race that we've seen Kevin Zemstra lose out to Ivan Maynard, and will that be the only time? Are we going to see Kevin Zemstra have the pace to fight back? Gap is 1.2 seconds when it will flash up and tell us. There we go. 1.2 seconds. The gap between Maynard and Zemstra. Garcia 3 seconds back, trying to make some inroads, but not quite able to do so. And then look at this battle for the podium. Bart Daleman wants to secure the championship with a trip to at least one step of this podium tonight. But is it going to be the case? Because Carlos Garcia, we know what a strong driver he is, how good he is at defending these positions. Already covering the inside through this very, very quick left-right section. Oh, Damon, look at the amount of pressure he's piling on now. He wants to get through as fast as possible.
Yeah, he goes through the cutback, but doesn't quite work. Carlos puts the car exactly where he needs it. Is Bart going to look down the inside? No, he's going to brake early. He's going to try and focus on getting the run. He puts his nose down the inside, though. That means Garcia can't completely hug the inside line, but then Bart gets away. Oh, sorry, Garcia gets away on the initial run down the hill. You can bet, though, that Bart is going to try this now as we go into the right-hander. Bart jumps on it. Down the inside he goes. I was a bit late on the change, admittedly, but still, Bart Daleman gets up into third position. Can he hold on now? That's going to be the main thing, because he is going to be the one giving the slipstream now to Carlos Garcia, and behind them, Martin Deckens, 5th overall, leading his class, doing an amazing job at the moment. Fair play to him. He's on his way to pretty much put a second hand, or at least an index finger, on the championship trophy in the consistency class. But this is a hell of a battle we've got going on, and again, even with, you know, a reduced grid size, Ed, still no disappointment at all. This championship is always as entertaining.
No, not at all. But Ivan Maynard is starting to extend a little bit of an advantage now. 0.3 of a second on Kevin Zemstra after that pit stop has been pulled out. So it was 1.2 seconds, now 1.5. But Zemstra did lose a bit of tyre temperature in that pit stop and is now trying to claw it back and get that speed up once more. Obviously, no matter what Kevin Zemstra does at this point, Bart Damon will be champion, because Bart Damon is on track to score at least 1 point, definitely more than that if he continues on the rate he's going in third place. This has been a really valiant effort, you have to say, from Kevin. He's tried to do as much as he can. Had yet more rotten luck in the first race with that incident going through the fast left right-handers. But now it's almost the story of his season, is that he's trying to do everything, but a little bit of rotten luck on the stage, and it's just not quite been his day, unfortunately.
No, and little moments like that there where he was on the grass, you know, we've seen drivers loop it around there on the exit of that corner. He had to back out a little bit just to make sure he didn't spin up the rears and throw it in the wall. You have to say, though, aside from that, you know, Bart Daleman's recovery drive has been fantastic since that off near the start of the race, where he just outbroke himself slightly as he sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.012, nearly into the 1:42s. We might get there by the end of the race, because I think it's cooling down. It is 33 degrees on the track now. It's about 20 to 4 in the afternoon in the sim, so it will be cooling down. There's a bit of cloud cover as well coming over the circuit, so with the humidity, it is going to continue. You can see the humidity in the air, though, can't you? There's like this grey mist in the sky. It's great that that's modelled by iRacing, but yeah, it really gives you an idea of these sort of muggy conditions here at Motegi. We do look at it again, though. It's 24 degrees, so it is pretty hot out there, but still not the 50 degrees that we saw track temperature-wise in warm-up. That was just, I mean, I've never seen that. We've discussed that a couple of times already.
Yeah, that was really something else. But I'm just looking at the pace of Bart Daleman, a second faster than Kevin Zemstra last time around. That's a huge amount of time gain. That is astounding how quick Bart Daleman is at this moment in time, and it's going to be very difficult for Kevin to even hold on to second place at this point, I think. And maybe Bart Daleman, if he's able to carry on that amount of pace, he was reeling in actually Ivan Maynard as well by 0.6 of a second with around about 4 or 5 laps to go. When they come up to the line, it's going to be, I think it will be about 4 laps when they come up to the line. It's going to be, might be close towards the end of the race, you know, if Bart can get through on Kevin Zemstra quickly. Look at this, Martin Deckens and Carlos Garcia scrapping away in the background.
Yeah, they've they've definitely cleared off from the rest of them. Ben Hoffman, I'm afraid, is having a bit of trouble with his tyres, I think. He's had an off here. Ben Hoffman, as you called him earlier on. A little bit too hot into the right there. And then he had another issue where he's gone a little bit too hot out of turn 2. And whoa, that's a bit more of a serious one. Doesn't hit anything. And then he's just had another one a moment ago as well, going up the hill. Just going to clip that curb, but it's just going to slightly... Oh no, he's just gone too hot on the exit. Just trying to carry as much speed. Great save though. Flipping heck. That was a fantastic save. Wow. Fair play, Ben. Look how easy it is though to misjudge that corner. Like, the speed that you're carrying up there, it's so easy to overdo it around there, isn't it? Because the apex from when you're in the car is the exit is blind. You can't see how far out it is to the left.
So difficult, and I mean, I'm sure Ben Hoffman won't be too happy to see us cataloguing several of his incidents all in one big chunk. But when you are a driver and you have a circuit that you just... Sometimes you have a track that you just don't get on with. You might think that you've done a lot of practice and you're quite comfortable, but oh no, not again, Ben.
Yeah.
You sometimes have this though as a driver. I'm sure you're aware, Chaz, where there's just a track that
what are you trying to say?
Just never seems to go right for you.
No, totally. You know, I agree. You know, you do have evenings in your sim racing where just nothing goes right, and you know the car feels horrible underneath you. You try and push that little bit more to sort of negotiate with the car and try and get more out of it, and it just makes the whole situation worse, and then you get more and more angry in your head, you make more and more mistakes, you get a bit lackadaisical about it, and you know you can't blame anyone other than yourself in those situations, and it's a shame. And you know, we both understand right now how not how Ed feels, that's you, how Ben feels in this situation. As Bart Daleman's off, Bart's off, he's spun it. He's off in the gravel, so that's certainly race win and challenge with Kevin Zemstra out the window. Let's have a look what happened here.
So he just take a bit too... Ooh.
Whoa, my lord, what?
That looked like he just didn't brake enough. His mind might have been elsewhere. He just wasn't... Let's have a look.
Oh, he's fuel saving. And as he's dumped... Yeah, he's brought the clutch out while turning, and it's thrown the back end out. So... That's one of the dangers of fuel saving, though, when you dump in the clutch, is that as soon as you lift it out again, it can just lock up the rears, snap the car around, and throw it into corners. I've had it before in GT3s in long races where I was trying to save fuel, and I think Bart's coasting here. He's got 2 laps to go of this circuit. There's nearly 2 minutes, so yeah, he's in trouble right now, is Mr. Daleman. Ben, I think Ben's given up. He's going rally crossing.
He's having fun, bless him.
Oh, yeah, he's certainly having a laugh with it, isn't he? Fair play, Ben. Do a drift. Anyway, Carlos Garcia.
So I actually just noticed as well, actually, I don't know if you could see it when we were just looking at Ben Hoffman there, but he's actually, you can see the helmets that drives are running. You can actually see that's the Seb's helmet, Sebastian Vettel.
Yes, yeah, he's always run that lid. It's one he's a big fan of, and it's one of the prettiest lids I think we've ever seen, is that lid from Seb with the offset tricolor of the German flag. I think it's a fantastic design. Oh, it's a fantastic design. And you know, when I think it was the Singapore Grand Prix when he brought the metallic version of it, the glittery version, that's one of the prettiest helmets I've ever seen in Formula 1. Seb's always had good lids, though, to be fair. We all remember his Red Bull days. Yeah, when he used to have a helmet until he won a race and then he'd change it. I'm not sure if you remember the 2014 Monaco Grand Prix helmet where the whole thing was basically made of bronze. It's the most radical looking helmet I've ever seen in Formula 1. If you want to give that a quick Google. Vettel helmet Monaco 2014. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm pretty sure it was Monaco 2014. As we see Philip Russell having a go down the inside of Taylor Lane. Gets it done by the apex. Taylor gets a fantastic run on the exit. Gives him a run for his money as they go back up the hill. Now we're going to go into the fast left-right. Taylor's going to be on the inside initially. Then Philip's going to be on the inside on the exit. They've both got to take different lines to what they're used to, though. Try not to upset the cars too much, boys. And Taylor Lane somehow holds on. Is Philip going to go for a dive down the inside? Don't think he is. Now, I didn't used to know what the ERA branding was on the Go for the Gap racing car, but I know that Cammy Sturch has friends that race in ERA, which is the Electric Racing Academy. It's basically electric Formula 4 cars. And they've got a couple of rounds planned this year in Europe. Some at the Hungaroring. I think they're going to Zolder. They're also doing Vallelunga, I think, as well, which is a hell of a circuit. And I actually look forward to seeing what the racing's like in that. Philip Russell, though, trying everything right now to get past Taylor Lane, as Ivan Maynard has gone on to the final lap of this race. And, well, he's made it work with the strategy here, hasn't he, Ed? It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a really inspired decision to pit that little bit earlier than Bart Dalman. I'm used to him being in the lead of the race so much, ahead of Kevin Zemstra.
That guy there.
That guy there, yeah, that man who pitted just a few laps later. Ivan Maynard with that open track space, just a, hot lap essentially for those 3 times, really did give him the advantage to come out ahead of Kevin. And since then, as soon as he got first, he hasn't looked likely to ever relinquish it. It's been a really good drive from Ivan Maynard. We will see him come across the line, but there's plenty of action elsewhere for us to look at. We need to watch Taylor Lane and Philip Russell go absolutely hammer and tongs with each other on this final lap of asking. They know that there's no further chances to properly go for it. And what will Philip Russell do? I think his best chance is likely going to be down into turn 11, but we saw Taylor Lane, he's very good through there. His move around the outside of Ben Hoffman was absolutely stunning. So Philip was definitely going to have his work cut out for him. But then as well, we need to focus on Maynard when he comes across the line to win the race. And then as well, Bart Daleman, when he comes through to secure the championship, as Philip Russell loops it around.
Oh, he's lost a podium in class because of that. Oh, mate, that's gutting. But 2 out of 2 tonight for WOSR Club. Ivan Maynard takes the win and crosses the line at Motegi. Fantastic drive. Kevin Zemstra did everything he could do. Carlos Garcia makes the podium. Martin Deccan's another win. And 2 hands pretty much on the trophy now in consistency. Well done to Martin. And it's not going to be the most dignified of race finishes, but Bart Daleman, this time definitely, has won the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 Championship. He is the Season 5 champion. It took him 4 seasons to get his first title, but now he has back-to-back wins. Very well done to the boss man. I'm really, really pleased for Bart, because the amount of work that he puts in, not just to this series, but the whole community, and everything he's done to take it over from Ian Roots during the handover from Simracersworld has been amazing, and he deserves that title tenfold. Well done to Ivan Maynard, though, and Carlos Garcia, who we see here, both getting their cars on the podium overall in that race. And the WOSR guys tonight, to be fair, Ed, have been absolutely top-notch, haven't they? It's been what we saw at Sebring, but since then they've had a bit of a patchy season. But that is exactly what we wanted to see from them again tonight. They really turned up. We've just had Ed's just had to nip off for a second. Apologies. Not sure if something's just happened at his end, so sorry about that. But what a fantastic, fantastic end to the race with Ivan Maynard taking the win. We'll have a quick look at your race results now. Maynard wins for WOSR Club, 2.8 seconds back to Kevin Zemstra, with Carlos Garcia finishing in 3rd position. Martin Deckens finishes 4th and wins the consistency class once more. Fantastic stuff for his championship charge, that. Iker Estefania finishes just behind his teammate Carlos Alvarez in 6th, with Bart Daleman finishing 7th, and that is enough to wrap up the Drivers' Championship outright. Taylor Lane finishes 2nd in class, 8th overall, ahead of Wayne Palmer. Philip Russell, unfortunately, having that spin right at the end of the race there. I can't believe that it just took that tiny little bit of too much throttle and he was around. Paul Godden finishes 11th, Khan Newman 12th. Adam Ossioala was 1 lap down, and Ben Hoffman did retire the car before the end of the race. But we have a new outright champion, and that man is Bart Daleman. And Ed just had to take a call real quick. He's just let me know, everybody, so do bear with. But we know that real life comes first, and that happens in the commentary world as well. There have been a few times before where I've had to dart off, even as broadcaster, and cut a broadcast short, where it was actually in this championship. When my son wasn't well, real life always does come first. Anyway, Bart Daleman takes the win, takes the championship, and he is going to be absolutely over the moon with that. Hopefully we'll get to speak to him in just a few minutes' time. The guys will be completing their cool-down laps and whatever else. I think Bart did do some donuts after this, hence the reason we've come back to see what he was up to. But it was lovely to see the WOSR guys side by side on the cooldown lap as well. Always great to see when drivers and teams sort of show their appreciation of the race and, you know, really put on a bit of a show like that, as you would do in the real world on the cooldown lap. Let's just see whether Bart does actually do some donuts. I think he was waiting for people to have gone past. And now, yeah, there you go. There you go. Fantastic to see. You've got to love a bit of donut action. You've got to love it. Your Season 5 champion, everybody, Bart Daleman. It's not the prettiest graphic in the world, is it? It's a little bit subdued, but still a very, very deserving champion indeed is Bart. I don't know how many times I need to say it, really, but it was great watching him race again all season and put in the continuous effort. And we're actually going to have a word with him now, so we'll skip the replay back and do it to... Well, we'll do it before the bit where he actually went off the road. But Bart, very well done, mate. Really, really pleased for you. You've wrapped the championship up. You must be, in a way, a little bit relieved after that one.
Yeah, I was totally not in my game today. It's something that happened yesterday, and yeah, I'm still a little bit off. If the race was yesterday, I wouldn't even have raced. So yeah, I'm happy. It's luckily the championship was already very close in the bag, but yeah, could have been better today in the race. I didn't really show my championship run that I had in the last 4 weeks, but yeah, oh well. It's a reward of the hard season.
Well, that's it, and I mean, what a place to wrap it up as well, because Motegi forgives absolutely no one, does it? It's such a difficult circuit, and especially in conditions like we've had tonight, it's been very, very hot.
Yeah, it was very, very hot, and yeah, sometimes the car was not doing what I thought it was going to do, and the lack of practice this week was also not really helpful for me. I'm somebody that really have to work things out, and yeah, missing 1 day practice is a huge difference for me.
And I've just had a message as well of Kevin Zemstra, of course, your main championship rival, and he's saying that he absolutely hates pit stops because yesterday in the Formula 1 World Championship, he led all of the race and then pitted and came out behind and didn't win. And then he's done the same tonight. He's led all of the race, had a pit stop with someone else coming out in front of him. Do you think that, well, were you expecting moments like that across the championship to be sort of pivotal in who got points and got them where in these important moments, or did you think that the pit stops would sort of fade into insignificance a bit?
No, I mean, you can do a lot with the pit stop strategy. Like you see it today as well. I made a mistake in the first few laps, and with pitting a little bit earlier, you can really come back into a race, you know. And I really love that kind of format because you really can do something on strategy, which is also a part of racing, and some people like it, some people don't like it, and but it can change a race, and it can change the championship. So you saw it last year with me and Red Bull Ring. It kind of decided the championship, to be honest. Yeah,
definitely. That's a good point, actually. I'd sort of blanked that from memory just because poor Tobias Olsen crashing in pretty much every race when he was going for the title. But
that also helped.
It did, yeah, bless him. But either way, Bart, it's been a hell of a season. Obviously, one more round left to go yet, though, at Bathurst. Is that a circuit that you're looking forward to racing? Because I imagine these cars are mega around there.
Oh yeah. I have a league on Sunday as well. That's also is going to race on Bathurst, so I have a really good practice for that. I really love that track. I don't know what the setup is like yet that Suelio made. So shout out, by the way, to Suelio Almeida, because he's making all the setups. And yeah, I hope, I think it's going to be mega. I really love that track, and when we went here a few seasons ago, that was really yeah, you would not think so, but it's really an F3 track. It's really an F3 track.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's certainly a high adrenaline roller coaster over the top of the mountain. But of course, well done from all of us here on the championship win, mate. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank you and Ed for everything you do. For the broadcast, you're always amazing, and we hope to get you as well on board for season 6. We'll message you soon about that
Love it.
for the dates. So I want to thank all the admins again and Paul, like always, and also thank him for joining, that I can join his team next season. So yeah, thanks to everybody involved. And I want also to thank everybody, my family, friends who supported me throughout the last 24 hours, and also people in the community who are pretty close and asked about it. They have been a great help supporting me these last 24 hours.
I really appreciate that, Bart, and like I say, I obviously send my my regards as well in relation to that. So hope to see you back to full strength very soon, mate. And of course, well done on the title; it's very much deserved. 2 in a row. Let's hope in season 6 it can be 3, eh?
Yeah. I did the back-to-back now, which Falcon also did, and now I'm going for the triple. You know?
Go on, Bart. Well done, mate. Congrats.
Thanks.
Lovely stuff. Right then, let's have a quick chat, shall we, with our second place finisher in consistency tonight, Taylor Lane. Taylor, great to see you back out on track and fighting hard with these boys. I mean, you're always in a battle somewhere, but you got strong results out of it tonight.
Yeah, can't really shake a stick at that. 2 second places, I think that was extremely tough. The track temp was insane.
Yeah.
I was checking the tyres after the stops, and they were both above. Both the rears were above 100 degrees Celsius, so they were toasty. That was a big slide job around the track.
Well, I've just seen Philip Russell's message to you in the Discord as well, saying, "Good racing, Taylor. You kept your cool in both races. I didn't." Yeah, unfortunately making the mistake right at the end. But, I mean, we just clicked into your scrap in the latter stages of that race, but it looked fantastic because this is the sort of circuit where putting pressure on is so important because it's easy to make a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a flowing track, but if you get that line wrong, you're going to be off in the grass, or you're going to hit the curbs in the wrong way. But in this car just didn't like it at all. It was so on edge. It probably sounds bad. I wasn't actually focusing on those last few laps. That's probably why the gap closed. I was braking about 50 meters too early for some of the turns because I'm actually streaming at the minute, and I was reading my chat. So that was on me. I'm glad he had a good fun racing. That was a good battle at the end. Good that it stayed clean because it got very close a lot of the time.
Yeah, it certainly did, but it was great fun to watch. And can we expect to see more of the same at Bathurst? Are you back for the last round?
Yes, I've actually changed job again. I'm now doing day shifts. I'm building fire alarms, so I'm actually enjoying this job. So I can make the rest of the season. I can make it next week, and I'm actually going to be doing the F4 series. I think when that gets up and going.
Get in, lad.
Yes. Mate.
I've got a Feisty Ford livery in the works as we speak. As well.
I was going to say I can't wait to see what that looks like. I'm so excited for that. But either way, Taylor, I mean, it's been a pleasure as always to watch you out there tonight. Always exciting, always good fun. Look forward to Bathurst as well greatly. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go tonight?
I'd like to give a shout out to everyone in my chat. They've given me £3.50 in tips.
Get in. Get in.
I'd like to give a big thank you to you guys. You put on a great show every week. Bart for putting the series together, putting up with all of us, and everyone for racing cleanly. It wasn't easy today.
Now I've just turned everything down on my mixer. I'm probably suddenly a lot quieter now, and I'm sorry. This is completely sorry. This is completely unrelated. I'm sorry, but I've just had you know when the penny drops and you just want to bang your head against a wall. So I've noticed in the last sort of loads of broadcasts that I've done that I've sounded really loud, and I listened back to the Formula 1 one yesterday, and I thought, why does Jack sound so much quieter than me, and why does my headset seem to be peaking all the time? Turns out that idiot here, while turning my mixer on and off, I've basically just slid all the sliders completely up to full whack. So
not only you peaky, you're sliding your sliders.
Yeah, I'm peaking and sliding all over the place, mate. It's
peaky slider.
Yeah, a peaky slider. For God's sake! Right, you need to get out of here. Either way, Taylor, pleasure as always to chat with you, mate. Absolutely love it, and we look forward to seeing how you get on at Bathurst, mate. Nice one.
Yeah, me too. I look forward to it.
Cheers, mate.
Take care.
Audio is a minefield, Ed. Audio is a minefield. So,
I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. I'm so happy that I don't have that worry to contend with here. Just as a humble commentator, I just have to say things. You have got so different buttons and gizmos and whatsits to slide about and deal with.
Well, I'm looking at this mixer that I've got now, and I've got 10 little slider things at the bottom, and then there are 6 rows of 7 little twizzly knobs to change all like the tone and the volume of certain channels and stuff. And there's another 9 on the right where the effects are. And then comes the top section of it where you can put 16 different inputs into it physically, either headsets, microphones, or whatever. It's a very overkill mix of this, and sometimes I want to throw it out the window, but at the end of the day, it enables me to do my job. But even still, I am absolutely in love with what we've seen tonight. It's been a fantastic, fantastic amount of fun, and I mean, it's just going to be the same again, isn't it, when we come to the final round of the championship at Bathurst? What a hell of a place that's going to be to go to.
What a venue to round out the season. It's been amazing. It's a shame that the championships have been rounded out one round earlier than I think you and I would have hoped for, but
yeah,
that does mean, of course, that the drivers, they are going to properly go for it. It's going to be like the first day of the season all over again. They're going to be properly attacking one another around the mountain. Oh, mate, I cannot wait. It's only in a week's time, though, so
yeah,
you don't have to wait too long. The 2 weeks have been absolutely horrible between Red Bull Ring and today, so I'm glad to only have 1 week.
You and me both, mate. You and me both. Well, that is all we've got time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media. Thank you very much for joining Ed, May, and I. It's been a hell of a lot of fun, and we really hope you will join us in a week's time at Bathurst. We can't wait to see you there. But for now, from Ed May and Chaz Draycott and everybody here at the NEVO SimStickers Formula 3 Championship, it is good night. We'll see you soon.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car. Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.